Hello again. We're going to look at a nonfiction standard today. We're looking at 7RN.2.3. We've done this work several times and people are still struggling with it, so I want to let you look at this directly. The standard says, analyze the interactions between individuals, events, and ideas in a text. How do ideas influence individuals or events, and how do the individuals influence ideas and events? Everything affects everything else. So as an example, we're going to look at this post about what the Boer is. This is a term used in South Africa, mostly for the Afrikaners, who are descendants of the Dutch and German and Huguenot settlers into South Africa. And as we can read this, it says, in 1652, the Dutch East India Company charged Jan van Riebeeck with establishing a shipping station on the Cape of Good Hope. Immigration was encouraged for many years, and in 1707, the European population of Cape Colony stood at 1,779 individuals. For the most part, modern Afrikaners have descended from this group. The Dutch colony prospered to the extent that Cape Town market for agricultural produce became glutted. With market stagnation and with slaves providing most of the manual labor in the colony, there were few economic opportunities for the burgeoning white population. Eventually, more than half of these people turned to the self-sufficient life of trekboeren, literally wandering farmers, but perhaps better translated as dispersed ranchers. The Boers were hostile towards indigenous African peoples, with whom they fought frequent range wars, and toward the government of the Cape, which was attempting to control Boer movement and commerce. They overtly compared their way of life to the Hebrew patriarchs of the Bible, developing independent patriarchal communities based upon a mobile pastoralist economy. Staunch Calvinists, they saw themselves as the children of God in the wilderness, a Christian elect divinely ordained to rule the land and the backward natives therein. By the end of the 18th century, the cultural links between the Boers and their urban counterparts were diminishing. Although both groups continued to speak Afrikaans, a language that had evolved from a mixture of Dutch, indigenous African, and other languages. So we're going to look at this slide. So looking at this slide, you can see everything that you were, all the questions that you need to annotate as you were reading through your article about Gandhi and the struggle in South Africa. So first question, who are the main people? Well, there are several groups in the article we just read. The Boers, the African government, the indigenous peoples of Africa are all encountered in there. You also have the urban section of the Afrikaners. What are the main ideas and philosophies? Well, the article talked about slavery. It talked about the idea that they needed economic growth by settling in a colony in South Africa. There was the philosophy by the Boers that they are actually the chosen Christians who are supposed to control the land and the people in it. Key events: colonization of South Africa, building the new colony, including slavery so that there are now no jobs for the new immigrants who are not wealthy. There's no manual labor jobs available because of slavery. The Boers taking off to become the migrating ranchers. Those are all key events. And how do you know which of these influence each other? Well, the truth is they all influence each other. If the Dutch had never decided that they needed an outpost to get around the Cape of Good Hope, then there wouldn't have been a colony in South Africa, and the indigenous people would have developed on their own. If the super wealthy hadn't decided that slavery was a good option, the Boers would not have been displaced. If the Boers had not been displaced, they would not have come to this conclusion that they were the gifted Christians who needed to control the indigenous people. All of those influence each other. The indigenous people being peaceful to start with, and then led towards them becoming enslaved. So those people are affecting the Boers. The Boers trying to control them are affecting the indigenous peoples. The Dutch in Holland are determining that they need these outposts in South Africa. So those people are having an effect on the Afrikaners, who are the descendants of the immigrants. Each and every one of these is connected. So as you are reading your article, make those connections. That's super, super important. You need to look very closely at all of those little details in the articles. I hope this helps. If you still have questions, feel free to contact me. I will be on the WebEx class meeting at 11, or you can email me. Thank you.